We all want more time in our lives. So today's video is about how to get a little bit more. Just one tip. My name is Dr. Amber Lyda, and I'm a licensed psychologist. I do online psychotherapy exclusively, and I do that in the state of Florida where I'm licensed and also internationally in a variety of different countries. I also offer mindfulness training. And it was actually mindfulness that brought me to this realization. Most of us are perfectionizing our lives away. So here's what I mean. Oh, look, my shirt and my I didn't even try to do that. Because if I had, I would have been perfectionizing my life away. See, things just happening when you don't work hard at it. Okay, so here's what I mean. A lot of times when I'm working with people in therapy, particularly people who have anxiety issues, what I find is that they end up spending a huge amount of their time trying to avoid anxiety. So what I mean, let's give an example here. I'm way too late. Let's say that going to a social event is something that evokes anxiety for you. And so you kind of try to cope with that anxiety by doing a few things. Maybe you avoid going to social events. Maybe you say yes in the moment because you don't want to seem awkward, but afterwards you spend a lot of time thinking about excuses or ways that you could get yourself out of going to that event. You all know that you've done that. I've done it too. Or maybe you agreed to go, you're going to go, and then you spend a whole lot of time thinking through all of the different interactions that you might have and what you should say and what you shouldn't say. And if you accidentally said this, how could you repair that? And even after the event, probably spend even more time going over the event in your mind and thinking about, gosh, I wish I wouldn't have said that. And she probably thinks this about me now. Or I wonder if I got on people's nerves or whatever. We analyze the situation to death. And all of that is our attempt to cope with the anxiety that that situation brought up for us. It shows up in other ways too. So even in like really small things like purchasing something for your home. Some people are what one author called satisficers, and I'll link to him down below. And what he means is they determine what they need. Let's say they have three criteria. You know, I need new curtains, I need them to block out the light, I need them to match the room, and I need them to be less than $50. They go to the store, they see something that matches those criteria, they purchase them, and they're happy campers. But the other group of people, called maximizers, would have the same criteria. They would go to the store, they would find those same curtains, and they would think to themselves, well, these would work, but what if there's something better? And then they'll go to another 3, 4, 5 stores to see if they might find something better. And what they're trying to do here, at least partly and probably partly unconsciously, is to minimize the anxiety they might feel about having made a mistake or not gotten the just right ones. If you crave just rightness, I'm talking to you. So what we found through research is that those folks who are maximizers are no happier with the item that they got than the item that than the happiness of the satisficers who got their item earlier and didn't waste as much time looking at other stuff. Both, we also looked at the amount of regret or buyer's remorse that they had, and both had about the same, pretty low. But the maximizers, who's kind of bimodally distributed, so there was kind of like, I managed the anxiety of the buyer's remorse by looking at 10 million of them and spending 14 hours on this particular set of curtains. Some of them, that worked to manage their anxiety about having gotten the wrong thing. But then there was a second group in that who still weren't satisfied and who still wondered, like, oh, maybe I could have gotten a different one. There was another study kind of related to this that talked about places with return policies and places without. And all of us would rather shop at a place that has a return policy, just in case we're not satisfied with what we bought. But as it turns out, we tend to be more satisfied with items that we bought at a store without a return policy. Exact same item, different level of satisfaction, because we have to be. We can't return it. And that's the difference between the satisficer. They decide, like, I have to be, I'm getting this item, I'm not going to look a whole bunch more. And the maximizer who thinks there's always something that I could have done more or better to make this more perfect. So you're perfectionizing yourself out of time in your life. And to me, time is the most valuable thing that you can have. I think about this perfectionizing thing even with these videos. So I do have a tendency towards perfectionizing, but I work really hard at not engaging in it, because what I know is the more I engage with it, the more it takes over. So if I tried to make these videos just perfect, I would never be satisfied. I sort of have to call it good enough and done, because at least then it gets out, as opposed to me working on it for 20, 30, 40 hours and it never getting out, because it's never, ever going to be perfect enough. The problem is that occasionally, very, very rarely, all of that perfecting effort pays off and somebody feels perfectly satisfied with the social event or the decision not to go to the social event or the curtains that they bought. And what we know is that intermittent reinforcers, so reinforcers, that feeling of satisfaction, if it comes not every time and not routinely, but intermittently, kind of randomly, it actually reinforces much more strongly than if we consistently, every time we maximized, were rewarded. So there's an addiction component to it. So the way to actually buy more time in your life, and this is going to be uncomfortable at first, is to stop engaging in the perfectionizing. So when you begin to think about, like, oh, I wonder if that conversation was okay, I wonder if I said something that upset somebody, the minute you engage with those thoughts and you join them and you spend time cycling in them, you're reinforcing the anxiety and you're reinforcing the amounts of times in the future you're going to spend time there. Is that where you want to spend your time? Or would you rather spend your time like eating something good or sleeping better or spending more time with people that you actually care about? How much of your anxiety is getting in the way of you really connecting to people that you could have had a relationship with? So every chance you get to give up on perfectionizing and to just get it done is a good thing. It buys you not only that time in that moment, but it undermines the anxiety that's leading you to try to maximize and perfectionize. So you're just beating it down every time you resist it. When you engage with it and you try to get things perfect or just right, you're reinforcing the anxiety disorder. And so now listen, because I know that right now somebody is saying, yes, but it's a special event, or yes, but this is an exception to the rule, or yes, but my cousin Sheila, she can get things just right and doesn't seem to bother her. Okay, yeah, but they don't have a perfect, Bella. Yeah, Mr. Bella was going to visit. They don't have a perfectionizing tendency, so that works fine for them. But if you have a perfectionizing tendency, even when practically or logically it might make sense, or you can justify why you're going to spend all of that extra time with this worry or with this maximizing part of your personality, you're just reinforcing it. So it's better to resist. So resist. If you want more time in your day, if you want more time in your life, if you want the time that you spend in your life to be quality time, you have to really start to notice when you're engaging in perfectionizing and choose to step away, even when you can rationalize it. Because we can, can't we? Because, you know, having a matching cup is pretty cool. Certainly not worth the time it would have taken to try to figure that out on my own when I could have been talking to you people. I hope that you have a great day, and that's one tip for getting more time back in your life, and we'll be covering some more. If you have some ideas about how you gain time back in your life, please list them below in the comments section and help all the folks who might catch them. So we're here to help each other, right? Hope that you have a great day, and notice if you're starting to maximize or perfectionize something. Notice it and see if you can resist it. It will make you more anxious at first, promise. But if you can ride through that anxiety, the payoff will be big.